this is the last Intellectuals Are Really Stupid. Yes, I got it. And, it's going to be all about the cannoli virus this week in the news.
Cannoli sewed.
Yep, and we're going to guess that movie, as we do every week. This time I'm going to be... It's still a good movie, but the reviews are going to shock you.
I can't wait.
I'm just laughing thinking about it. On the viewer grab bag, we're going to be discussing Down and Out with Tantric, which is I never heard of Tantra, but Tantric, which I think I still have it up so I can read the... Oh, fuck, I don't. Let me go back here. Read this thing here. Tantra denotes the esoteric traditions of Hinduism and Buddhism that co-develop mostly like blah, 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 blah. Basically a bunch of stuff about sex.
Pretty much, yeah.
Never read anything about sex before because I'm a virgin, so I'm really scared.
Something you should read into. It's a pretty cool thing.
I heard that's how the human species got here, but I refuse to believe it. Oh fuck! Who did the cops kill? I forgot which one. What was that story you found?
Here, I think I have it still.
I don't even know if I pulled it up. I forgot. Oh wait, no, it was this guy. The cops they shot some unarmed black worker. They shot that guy, and then so that happened a few years ago, and now I guess the story is being brought back up. Maybe there was like a case. Oftentimes there is with these kinds of things that there's some kind of like court case that takes fucking years because they gotta like beg the police officers to like, please hand over your body cam footage, please. And the cop will be like, nope, I'm not doing that. You gotta give me the subpoena. And then they'll be like, oh no, I can't read. So then they gotta take it over to their lawyer, and their lawyer is like, shit. And it takes 1,000 fucking years, and they drag their ass on it, just like if you saw with the impeachment thing, Republicans waiting till the last day to do abso-fucking-lutely anything to stall everything as much as possible. So we're finally getting the evidence about this shooting of an unarmed young black worker. And what was the police cops? What did they say? What do they have to say about this?
Well, this was in the UK.
No, wait, so for folks at home, if you listen to alt-right people or any Republican YouTuber, cops in UK are total cucks and they don't have guns.
Yeah, I don't know.
Okay, so continue.
Yeah, I don't know why that narrative is a thing. Basically, he's taking the Arnold Schwarzenegger defense and saying, I'm just doing my job. They were just following protocol.
That's
interesting. Someone, shooting them on the spot. I don't know what part of their training that comes into play, but I guess that's just following orders.
It makes sense, because they're trained. I mean, I don't know if do you know anything about like people going through like police training or like security training or things like that?
What do you mean?
Like I had a friend who went to like I don't even know what kind of college it was or something for like security. It's kind of like a thing you would take if you were interested in becoming a police officer, but you didn't want to go to regular college.
Yeah, I got you.
Yeah, so he went to a thing like that, and essentially what they do is they teach you a lot of like kind of how to be professional and try to like de-escalate situations. There's a lot of that, so he definitely gained skills in that. That was probably the best part. But another aspect of it is that they show you all this horrible footage of cops getting shot and murdered.
Oh yeah.
And if you are somebody who is in any way like skittish or prone to assume the worst, then you're probably going to end up being one of these cops who just like assume that somebody is going for a gun and then shoot them before to find out that, oh, the person doesn't even have a gun, which is the case here. It seems like the guy was reaching somewhere on his body and the cop assumed that he was going for a gun and he just shot him. Now, if he was a white guy, would the cop made that assumption? No fucking way. Never. I've never had a cop react any way whatsoever me going for my wallet or anything like that. Yeah. And I've been pulled over a few times and in circumstances where the cop should have been mad at me because I flipped him off. But that's what you get when you go through a yield sign and you're in an unmarked car. I'm gonna flip you off because you're objectively in the wrong.
And he pulled you over for that?
Well, no, he pulled me over because I was
Sure.
going, or I was going too fast through the parking lot.
Oh, okay. Oh, that's such a dumb. I
Yeah,
mean,
which I thought
I get it, but like,
yeah,
yeah. Okay.
it was pretty funny.
It's a little wiggly.
So yeah, I don't think this guy died, but that is who the cop shot,
No,
and
he's
that
in
is a follow up.
critical care. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, getting shot is a lifelong injury. I knew a guy who got shot in the stomach, and his like abs were all fucked up, and he was
Yeah.
mostly okay from it. But
Think about how your body has to like recover from that, like heal all like
yeah, I mean,
Wow.
there are untold
hole, dude.
there are untold damages that go on later in life because things inside your body have literally been attacked
Yeah,
in a way
yeah.
that they shouldn't be. You know,
Yeah, you're not
tearing through
so.
random organs and shit. Like, you never know. Like, oh, 20 years from now, I died from some related complication due to a gun injury that I would have never known about. And that's the reality of these situations. So we already talked about the cops. That's pretty great. What about in the news? What's going on? So the cannoli virus is fucking everybody up.
You want to talk about India? I think that's kind of funny.
Yeah, that's where I was going to. Although I guess
Okay.
I do want to say there are a lot of people out there that seem to think that saying the name of the virus in a funny way is like making fun of 9/11.
I think I've heard that.
Yeah, like basically like
Like
saying
you're making
cannoli
fun
virus.
of
I
it or
just think it's kind of
whatever.
funny, you know, coronavirus, cannoli virus.
It's
Like
just silly.
like
Yeah.
and it's not like I am in any way have in downplaying it. Now it would be one thing
Yeah,
if I was
yeah.
making fun of the name and downplaying it. But the
Right,
reality
right.
is like this is pretty
It's a
fucking
real
bad.
thing. It's a real thing. Yeah,
And
yeah.
people need to take as much precaution as possible, even if the government doesn't incentivize them or provide them a way to do so.
hmm
We
hmm
still need to take care of number one because it's your life that's at stake.
Yeah.
And the American government doesn't give a fuck, that's for sure.
Yeah. Never did, never will.
But yeah, so in India they locked down 1.3 billion people for 21 days.
I don't know how they're gonna manage that.
Yeah, I mean it's one
There's
thing
so
for
many
like a
people,
recommendation,
dude.
right? But like the whole country everywhere.
I mean, but the funny thing is, this is what like I see people like alluding to is happening in the States with like
Yeah, which is like not even. I mean, that's what Republicans are
no,
saying.
yeah,
If you heard any of these like Republican YouTubers, they're like, "Oh my God, they're doing martial law and like all this shit." And it's like, no, you can go outside. No cop is gonna know where you're going unless they fucking follow you to the place.
they're not gonna
If and
stop.
that's if they have a lockdown.
Yeah,
Most places
yeah,
don't. They just have a
yeah.
recommendation,
Yes.
and
It's
as if somehow it's better to die for your freedom in a time
yeah,
where
it's
you should
such a
just
liberty,
fucking sit in
bro.
your house. Yeah.
I don't know. It is. I think that like if somebody were to travel forward in time from like a couple decades ago, like they'd think we're in a really fucked up timeline though, because like we are on this kind of like pseudo lockdown. You know, it's like a self-imposed martial law.
Yeah, I mean the
Like
government
we
really
don't.
isn't doing too much to help it, but one member of the Senate is doing something to make sure that it's okay.
We're
Bernie Sanders, where the fuck's Joe Biden?
yeah.
Yeah, I
Did
think
you?
maybe I'm actually not voting for Joe Biden now, based on becoming a literal rapist and just being fucking nowhere, like doing
Did
abso-fucking. Is he even?
no?
Is
Did
he
you?
actually? Am
Did
I?
you?
I mean, maybe I'm dumb. Is Joe Biden even a senator right now?
Yeah, he's still in the Senate.
I have to look. I don't even actually fucking know. I gotta find out. I don't know. This is the most important thing to me right now. I don't give a fuck about JoeBiden.com.
Well, maybe it would say he's still a senator. Is Joe Biden a senator?
This reminds me of the debate. In the debate, the lady kept referring to Joe Biden as a Mr. Vice President.
They always did that though.
Really?
I
Why?
feel like okay.
You're not vice president for life.
Okay, this is my theory as to why they do that. I mean, partially is like yeah, propping them up. Another thing is I think it is some kind of like professional courtesy to refer to somebody as like their highest office or whatever, like
I mean,
whatever
this is
their
some.
highest
This.
thing
I
they
mean,
achieved,
that's
you know?
probably. I mean, that's true in what's going on, probably. But this is like some power worship that I This is
Oh, I'm
a
sure it is.
hierarchical power worship that I
Oh, I'm sure
absolutely
it is.
hate.
Yeah.
But that is probably the
Absolutely.
reason why, is that like, oh yeah, like here you are. That's
It's
what
your
you're known for. That's
highest
what you did,
status.
and
Sure.
that's what
Yeah.
we'll refer you to by. I actually don't know what the fuck he does now. Does he do anything?
Biden?
Yeah,
Mm,
because he
I
hasn't
mean,
been senator. Yeah, he's not nothing in right now. He's doing what the fuck? Are you fucking? He's not even a senator right now. He
he's
has
not.
all the free time in the fucking world. And where is his like condemnation of the Republican Party? Where is him trying to do anything? At least I've tried to find. I went to the Joe Biden subreddit and I couldn't find a fucking thing. All I could find was Joe Biden doesn't want to debate anymore and he's running some ads. Who
Well,
gives a fuck?
he did do
Oh, a live stream, right?
a quote unquote live stream. Yeah.
I heard that
But
was pretty embarrassing.
it was pretty bad. I couldn't get through all of it. I mean, it's a half an hour. Like
It was half an hour. You couldn't get through all of it.
listening to him talk is just it hurts me.
So it was just him like
It's
trying
just
to
him
talk to. Was there
a
chatters?
camera. It's him talking to a camera. I'll link it to you.
Oh my god.
It's him talking into a camera and then he does like talk I like mousing
Is
over.
he like a boomer? Like is he like staring into it like really awkwardly?
Yeah, what the fuck do you think?
Oh
No, but
my gosh.
I will say that I don't know. I looked through the comments and it's really funny cuz there's going to be like Trump humpers like coming at him. I mean, it must suck to be Joe Biden for these reasons where it's like you're getting attacked from both sides, right? Like the people who actually care about what's happening in American politics that are like, dude, you're not helping the case by uh, sweeping it from under Sanders, and also people who are just um, not politically engaged enough that are like Republican Trump people that are like just attacking them. One of my favorite and I've seen multiple people say things like this, like teleprompter Joe, oh he's useless without a screen in his earpiece, or like,
I mean, yeah, the same is true with Trump right now too.
that's what I'm getting at. Yeah, I mean, there's two different Donald Trumps in any
Yeah, 100. And
public.
that's showing more every day.
Oh, dude,
When and then did you see that the one video? There's like a video where Trump's like he's on the prompter and he's doing good, right? And he's feeling good because he's kind of like exuding this like presidential kind of command. And then he decides to go off script and just starts saying some bullshit, and it just like quickly becomes
you
like,
can just tell
oh,
the difference.
like it's
Yeah,
fucking Jekyll and Hyde here. Like
it
one
is.
person, a coherent person wrote
Completely.
this, and now you're
Yes.
saying
Yes.
some dumb shit.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
now that he has that built up kind of like presidentialness of doing it, he's like, oh, I'm just gonna go off
Now I
script
can
all
go
the
off
time.
right.
And he's
Yeah.
just like making all these dumb comments like the lamestream media and the fucking the deep state, and then he laughs at his own joke. And
Yeah.
then the fucking Dr. Fauci guy is just like fucking face
Face
palming
palming.
because
Yeah. Yeah.
Trump's so fucking stupid.
Yeah.
Man,
Um.
I looked at this video and Joe Biden. I mean, I'm not being ageist. I just naturally hate old people. But my God, nobody this old and decrepit should be president. Biden looks
But
like shit.
it's kind
God,
of crazy. I
he's so
mean,
fucking.
I think isn't Sanders older than Biden too?
I think so. I think maybe
And
it's
he
by
like
a year.
he carries himself so much better. It's
Yeah. Well, let's
so
see it. I don't know if I made this joke on here, but I definitely made it talking to you another time where it would be really easy for Bernie to go through the presidency, even though being as old as Biden or Trump, because he's been saying the same shit for 30 years. It's already
yeah,
locked in his brain. It doesn't
yeah,
matter.
exact, yeah, pretty much. I mean, that's the thing. Well, because I know people. Sometimes I've heard people say like, as a point against him, like just because he's been saying the same thing doesn't mean it's good. But it's like, well, no. The thing is, what he's been consistently saying has been the right thing. It's not
Yeah.
like he's been totally like bullheaded and just wouldn't change his opinions. It's that his opinions have been consistently what like what I would probably argue like the real mainstream America is proposing.
Yeah, as opposed to
Or at
what's
least
being
for.
manipulated by Rupert Murdoch and his dumbass son.
a consent that's being manufactured. A little bit of a call, not a callback, but a reference to what you were talking about earlier. Have you ever seen Surviving Edged Weapons?
What the fuck is that? Isn't that the?
It's here I'll link you to the part that I think is funny.
Oh, this
Um,
is like on our Red Letter
they
Media,
did
right?
this they did it on Red Letter Media. I was seeing memes about it like a while before that, but it's a good watch just because like it's basically like a scare you safe educational video for cops made, and it seems like
This is,
it's
oh my god, this is like, what the fuck?
what
Razor
or
blades in a hat?
yeah, or the fish hook in your in a in earrings and in pants. It's like I want to see the MacGyver type people that the cops are coming across in this
Like,
fictional world.
this is
That's
this
so
is
funny.
this is like the equivalent of a bored housewife just coming up with like 1 grain less of sugar in the cookies recipes. It's just fucking inane. Like, you're really telling me some guy's gonna walk around town with
Yeah,
razor blades in his hat on the off chance that when he grabs for his hat, he can cut you with it and you won't expect it?
yeah,
Like,
yeah.
nobody does this. This is like so stupid. And
And
like,
plus, you have fucking razor blades in the back of your hat. Like, no one's gonna notice that.
yeah. And it's just like to be a police officer must just be meaning seeing danger where there isn't any
Well, it's
and putting
like if you're
yourself on edge constantly.
well, yeah, if you're a hammer, all you know is to seek for nails.
That's all their use is, unfortunately. I forgot what even we were on.
Well, we were gonna talk about India. You wanted to talk about cannoli
Oh,
virus
we already did
stuff.
that. Well, like, yeah,
Okay.
India. I mean, like, what the fuck do people do who are in like a fucking village? Because like, there are parts of India that are pretty backwater, from my
Well,
understanding.
that's what I'm wondering. Like, people who are legit homeless, like, where are they supposed to go?
Yeah, that's another thing too. Is that like, with all the homeless people and like
That is their
nobody even like, at least from like the comments of like clients at work, like nobody wants to go to a shelter during this time because they're like, oh yeah, I go there,
Oh
I die
yeah,
for
I'm
sure.
sure. I'm sure. Yeah.
So, and
Yeah.
and also like from my understanding of what the Department of Corrections in Wisconsin is doing is they were letting out all nonviolent offenders, and I assume, I mean, which
I've
sounds,
heard about that too. Yeah.
yeah, and I would assume their thinking is we want to get as many people out of the jails now as possible
Hmm.
because
Hmm.
people who are in jail
It's just gonna
probably
spread
don't
around.
have it, but
Yeah.
like
It's
we need to prepare to be able to intake violent crimes.
yeah.
I
Yeah.
think they did that in Milwaukee somewhere. But apparently they also announced that they weren't arresting people for nonviolent crimes, which is like,
What?
sure, do that, but don't tell everybody. Like,
Yeah.
excuse me? Pretty
That's
stupid.
funny. I can finally get away with my tax evasion and not be
Yeah.
super rich.
Yeah, right. I mean, that's always gonna happen regardless. That and what is it?
No, I'm saying
Uh,
the common person can now, not just the uber wealthy.
yeah. Well, I mean, by the time, I mean, that's gonna be too late for that, right? That's like a thing that they get you for like 5 years later,
Yeah.
and then really what it amounts to is like um, like when it almost amounts to like an IRS Indian text scammer where they call up and, well, they don't call you though, they usually send stuff through the mail, but basically it's just like, oh
Or a
yeah,
voicemail.
you owe you this much money, and they
Yeah, yeah.
rake you over the coals for every kind of like little thing that are quote unaccounted for, and it's like nobody keeps the level of accounting necessary to
Yes.
satisfy
Yes.
the circumstances here, so it's just like, you know
Yeah.
you're going after pennies,
Uh-huh.
which is just like
And
ultimately the most saddest thing.
and then they have you pay with Google Play cards or Steam
Yeah, and
cards.
in
Like,
the
no, I don't know
Indian
how to
IRS
use
scammers, it's
Steam
Google Play
cards.
cards. In the real America, they said you have to send them like $50 because you itemized wrongly.
Uh-huh.
But Trump got rid of that, so you don't have to itemize anymore because it's worthless.
Hell yeah.
Although, I mean, being correct about it, itemizations are pretty fucking dumb. Why should I have to go through and like put down all these purchases and in relation to like a
What
job
it
or
was
some
for.
shit?
Yeah,
But
yeah.
it's like the government doesn't give a fuck about expenses under a certain amount, and they don't give a fuck about like the necessary expenses of like living. Because like if they did, you know, cost of housing, gas, like these are all things that you need
Mm-hmm.
to go to a job.
Yeah.
But the government makes no incentive to actually like have them. I mean, the government has backed mortgages for homes, but there's
Mm-hmm.
not backed security deposits for renting an apartment. Like, you know, like the government just doesn't give a fuck about housing, doesn't give a fuck about people as
Yeah.
far as like actually being able to make sure that they can be a good worker,
Yeah.
which is like the
Productive
basic
human.
thing that fucking
It's what our society's running on right now.
old German guy, I forget his name.
Milton Friedman?
No, Milton Friedman's
He's an economist, isn't he?
he was a Ronald Reagan or Nixon's economist. He was famously in favor of uh, negative tax negative tax income, or which is basically kind of like a UBI, but actually a little bit better. Yeah, and using his own example, which he says is just an example, not what he would support. But he was for it until he found out that like it would money would go to like minority people.
Oh,
Or well, he that's what he
right.
was.
Like,
That's what he told to the president at the time, that the money would a lot of these people would end up like not working because or some. He essentially told the guy some lie. I always forget which president he was the economist for, and then that bombed the whole thing. Also, partly due to Democrats holding out for more, and then I think some
oh, I
disaster
think I remember
happened.
hearing about that. Yeah.
Yeah, they voted it down in the House or in the Senate twice. They went through in the House twice.
It's a gamble, you know.
Yeah, would have had family leave, all sorts of that. We imagine where we could be if we had that
Yeah.
stuff like years and
Yeah.
years ago.
Um, did you want to get on to segments?
Oh yeah, we should probably do one of those. Oh yeah, we can guess the movie.
Yeah,
Oh,
I
okay,
can't
so
wait.
here, I'm gonna read their 1-star reviews.
Mm-hmm.
Now, this is an actually good movie. It might be one of the ones that you've actually seen,
We'll see.
and there's not too many reviews.
Oh,
There's
it's
17 reviews,
wow, it's a pretty
so I might need to
underground.
read all of them to help you out.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, so here we go. Number 1, horrible. This ended up being a cheap-looking horror movie instead of sci-fi. And he wrote sci-fi, like the Sci-Fi Channel copyrighted way
Oh,
of
that's
saying
funny.
sci-fi.
Yeah,
So you can tell he's
very
just a
smart.
corporate drone. Okay, here we go. Another review. 1 star. Will not play. It will not play. It's free on a channel for me. It would not play. So I bought it. Still will not play. Fix this. And I want my money back.
I was hoping he would say would not play again. It sounded like poetry for a second.
Well, yeah,
Like,
they
on a
wrote it
channel.
will not play
It will
many
not play.
times. Yeah. Well, you can thank Jennifer Knight for that one. Now we got some person whose name I could not even imagine. Seriously bad movie, 1 star. Rented this based on its rating of 4-star plus. It was so unremarkable, we didn't even finish watching it. So he was watching it with a group of people, and they were bored to tears.
Well, so far I'm not hearing anything criticizing the movie itself. It just sounds like
A bunch of
they're having
incompetent people trying to
trouble.
access computers.
Yeah. So my is it Arrival?
No, this is much older. But you're on the right. You're on the right premise.
Okay.
Aliens stuff. Okay, you're
Yeah.
close.
Yeah.
It's not Alien, by the way.
It's okay. Okay.
Okay.
Continue.
Okay.
Did
It's
I?
it's gross.
Keep going. Keep going.
Bletch. Classic. Who the heck cares? So this guy, he doesn't respect the classics.
Okay. Well, that's a clue. That's
Ooh,
a
this
clue.
guy, not the right version of the movie. Did not receive the advertised version of this movie. It is listed as special edition, but we received standard one instead. Movie doesn't work. The movie doesn't play. It says there's a problem with it. I paid to watch this movie, and it doesn't work at all.
It's just old people that don't know how to work computers.
Audio isn't synced properly. Great film, but the BR audio was messed up. Audio was very quiet and no synced in certain places.
It's an alien movie. That's a classic.
If you rent this movie, you won't get it. Oh, never bought this and never received this. Confused to why it's on my history.
And we give it a 1-star review.
Oh, here we go. Now we got some reviews where they're actually talking about the movie. Boy, I sure made a mistake here ordering this modern version of Name Removed. I saw the original as a kid and it scared me to death. This movie is way too modern. Way not too modern, just TO modern with all the helicopters and blood and guts. Hollywood really has gone way TO far today. Anyway, I noticed the old original for sale, so I got it coming. This was a waste. What am I reading? This guy's reviewing the wrong movie. This guy was reviewing the wrong one.
That's so funny.
He's referencing the old one that he likes, and that's the one he's reviewing right now and gave 1 star.
Oh my
Okay.
god. Oh, yeah, I was confused because he's like, what do you mean Hollywood was going too far? But like...
Yeah, so they remade, so it's a movie that they remade a few times.
I have a...
Okay, this one. So you want to guess now before I read the next one? Next one will really reveal it.
No, just do it. Just go for it.
Okay, this could easily have been an episode of Star Trek and been wrapped up in half the time. If only they had a universal translator or spoke Norwegian. Name Removed may have been state of the art in 1982, but it just looks cheap in the 21st century. Do you have any idea?
They spoke Norwegian. I don't... no, I have no clue. I was gonna say like Day the Earth Stood Still, but...
That's kind of like it.
What is it? What movie?
It's The
what
Thing.
Movie what is it?
It's The Thing.
Yeah. Oh, that's okay. Yeah, I was gonna guess that.
That is Norwegian. Yeah, and they remade it. 1 second.
Place in, like Poland. In the meantime, I want to talk about I'm gonna talk about Eminem. I think he was good for his time, but definitely overrated nowadays.
Big and true.
I think it was good when we were all, angsty teenagers, but like, get over it. Yeah, he can rap fast. It's a piss poor parlor trick. You want a good fast rapper, dude? Listen to Twista. That guy.
Is he Twista Lime?
He does do I think he's done some collabs with Busta Rhymes. Yes.
Wow.
But he's not. I do not think he has a Twista Lime or a Delicious Salt.
Does he drink a seltzer? Does he come with a seltzer?
I think he's got a seltzer drink. He's got a vodka drink. He's got a whiskey drink.
Oh my god! There's so many of those like '90s bar songs where like they play at the end of the night sometimes.
Yeah.
And it's like all those songs just that one I don't like, the Piss in the Night Away one.
Yeah.
It's like how much can you fucking eat the same shit?
Yeah, that's the thing.
Like, oh, it's fun to listen to once in a while, but like, holy fuck.
Yeah.
Like people who like, what is that? There's that stupid, not Queen. What's that other band? The one that they did that Soul Sister song, Train. The Drops to Jupiter.
Oh yeah.
Holy fuck, do I hate that song? Those fucking lyrics are terrible. Fucking fried chicken? Shut up. You like, excuse me for that was what I forgot. We were supposed to talk about a song. Oh my god, what was that one song?
Yeah, well, the one that you like mishear the lyrics all the time.
What were the lyrics like? Wait, which one is this?
I don't know, something about eating ass or something, or you're rubbing your hand on my thighs. I don't know.
That is true, but I don't remember what the
speaking of, okay, what about it's man.
What?
It's man. You don't.
What the fuck's going on right now?
Put your cock to the side because you're angry.
It's been too. It's
Bare Naked Ladies song. It's man. Or every time I hear somebody say it's man, that comes in my head. I hear it's man.
2 weeks since you looked at me, pooping, turning your head and something being. Is that the same song with the Chinese chickadee China fried?
Chicken, you have a drumstick and your brain stops sticking.
There are so many Like
that's what that made me think of.
that's like
Like
early.
chicken.
It's so there's like prog rock. That's like prog pop. You
Yeah,
know,
that's a good
because
way of putting it. Yeah.
because a lot of prog rock is just like inane lyrics that mean no nothing,
Mm-hmm.
and that's really what there's like a lot of 90s bands where it's like just prog pop where it's like the lyrics are literally just there to rhyme and make noise
Yes.
from a
Yes. Yes.
voice, and that's it.
Yes.
Like they're not.
Definitely. Well, I think that's when it's debatable. That's the word I'm looking for. Like when music, especially as like an industry, started becoming very sequential, I guess, formulaic. Like we can just like put these bleeps and these bloops together, and you just make songs. Like there's no a lot of the heart is kind of gone. We're just fabricating beep boops for people to
I
consume.
found it. I found the fucking song. The one that the song I wanted to talk about. It's Best on Earth, featuring these are all capital letters, so I'd assume it's pronounced BIA. And I just love the
By
part. I
Russ.
think it's the part with the girl. Not this part. This is the guy singing. It's oh, I got drip on the floor and it's getting nasty. So now
I
you've
explained it.
told me
That's
what this
right. That's
means,
funny. Yeah.
but I gotta say, when I hear that on the radio, I presume that she's talking about that like she's so horny that she's leaking on the floor from her nether regions.
That's so.
I mean
I can
that's
definitely see why you'd think that, but for our less I guess youth slash street savvy listeners, drip is I liken it to what ice is.
yeah, I
Like
get that.
where
If
people
somebody says they
it's
got some ice, yeah, I know what they
it's
mean.
like the new version of ice. Like the ice melted because ice is so old,
Oh,
it's
so
melting
now
now
it
and it's
melting
drip.
and it's coming
Now it's
off,
drip.
and it's
Now
their
it's called
drip.
drip. Yeah, that's my etymological explanation for why people call it drip, because I have no clue what other like reason there
Well,
is.
that makes perfect sense to me, and it's probably the smartest thing that anybody's gonna hear on this podcast. So it's
Okay,
perfect.
I think I have that beat actually, because I'm looking through these lyrics
Yeah,
for this song. Us, yeah, I do like the drip dropping on the floor. Her ass fatter than fat, and she got good throat. Sit that cat on my lap. I give it good strokes. I might have to fly her out to Mykonos, or maybe to Japan, so I can hit her like I'm Ichiro. Who's Ichiro?
Japanese baseball player, I assume.
Oh,
What I
that's a
would
really good guess.
that's
Holy shit, dude, nice.
that
Good
has to
job.
be it.
Good job. Kudos to you. I guess I should have figured that. Ichiro Suzuki is
Does he make cars?
he's a baseball outfielder. No, not that
Wait, he's
Suzuki.
an outfielder. Why is he hitting balls? I thought it was somebody else's job.
Oh, oh my God. Do you not know America's pastime, you uncultured swine? It's not
Uh,
like you just stay out in the outfield the whole game. Like they have
wait, you
the
mean the
whole
same people that are in the outfield also hit the ball?
Oh my God.
I thought it was like football where they have like two
It's not
different
like
teams. They got offense and
oh, like an
defense.
offense and defense.
Yeah.
That's
Because like that was the only way that it made
oh
sense
my
to me that Babe Ruth was so
God.
fat and good at the sport, right? Because it's like he didn't have to be in the outfield because he just hit the balls, you know? Have you seen him? He's like his guts flying all over the place.
Yeah, but well, I mean, your logic is a little flawed there because they have to run after they hit the ball anyways.
Well, yeah, but like if you can hit the ball so far, you
Really
don't have to
far
worry about
away.
running.
Yeah. But then that's I guess, and then you're assuming that everyone else who's the hitter.
Yeah, he was. That's what I'm saying. Is I'm saying he
gonna
was
hit
so
it
good at
away.
hitting, he didn't need to be good at any other. He basically maxed out his stat in hitting,
His,
so he didn't need to run because our ball's out of the park.
I see. That you really knocked that one out of the park too.
Wow, we should talk more about songs. This is great. Let's see what are some of the lyrics that are really calling out to you here.
You want more?
I just love this one. She knows what the fuck is up. I don't gotta dumb it down.
Oh my.
Tatted like Rihanna, pussy singing like it's run the town.
Yes.
I don't know what that means. I don't know what run the town is.
Well, I think that's she said she made a reference to Rihanna.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I think she had either an album or a track in an album that's like "Run This Town" or like "We Run This Town" or some shit.
Well, I know that's a Beyonce. There's like a Beyonce song where it's like,
Like
"Who
it's
ruled
"Run."
the world? Women ruled the world," and then it's like
Oh my
that
God!
song, and it's
I
like,
love
"Shut the fuck
how
up,
like
Beyonce,
I love how not a lot you
fucking
know about
bourgeois
music.
asshole."
So funny. Well, it's supposed to be this like girls rule song. But what pisses me off the most about that song is it uses a sample from a Major Lazer song, and it's just like so blatant, and it hurts me because it's like I don't know, just make your own fucking good music. You have 35 producers that are just paid to
And you
make.
know, a fat white guy wrote the lyrics to that song, just like
I'm,
every early Rihanna song.
I'm
Like
sure.
that Diamond song. Like, have you ever heard of this?
Yeah,
Yeah, like
yeah.
a lot, almost all of Rihanna's early songs are all written by fat white guys.
It makes me really sad to. Oh
Which
well,
I mean,
like
that's like an industry problem. That's like not.
yeah, yeah,
I
yeah.
don't
No,
blame
no,
them
no.
for that.
Yeah, no, no.
I blame Rihanna, or I blame I don't know anything about Rihanna. I blame Beyonce for just being a horrible person who has wealth and then uses the wealth in a way to be a shitty person,
Yeah.
to use a quote social movement to gain extra money for herself through
Mm-hmm.
her, profiting
Mm-hmm.
off it through what is the you have like perfumes and shit like that, like fuck off. And then pretending that like, oh, we're giving money back to these whatever places, but we're exploiting the labor in these places to produce the goods in the first place.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, that's most philanthropy, isn't it? Like, look at how great we're
Yeah,
doing.
I've been
The more
evil
you
and
look for
extorting
the
everything for
secret.
so long that I have so much excess capital that now at the time of need
No.
I can be the savior. And it's like,
Yeah, yeah,
if you
yeah.
were
Yeah.
just not evil all those other times, then you wouldn't need with this whole situation wouldn't have need to have happened this badly. But then one, that denies them their moment of being a hero, and then two, it means that all those other times they would have had to have been good rather than just one time. Can you
Exactly.
afford to be
Yeah.
good once in your life if you're a rich person? Hell yeah, that's why philanthropy works.
Yeah, yeah,
Actually,
yeah.
speaking of that,
Yeah.
there are two things that happened this week with philanthropy that we
Tell
can get
me.
on.
Tell me right now.
Okay, so there was a post where like Tim Cook, the CEO of Apple,
Yeah.
was bragging about like getting a ton of mass in to Europe and USA because they're not able to like get the supply chain. So Apple's stepping in to helping out,
Mm-hmm.
and it's like so a private company has to come in and help out, but the private company that's coming in and helping out is exactly the situation that I just called out, which is a company that has been hiding its tax profits from getting taxed for so long so that they have the excess capital and it's not like they're even helping out. I mean, they're just making them available to purchase for United States and fucking Europe.
So wait, what are they doing?
They're because lots of places around the world are struggling to find like
Yeah, yeah,
masks and things
yeah,
like that.
yeah.
So they found like they've did magical corporate voodoo and like have been able to source 10 million masks for the US and
Uh-huh.
millions more in the hardest hit regions in Europe. And it's like, we could all do this just as well. How about just pay your taxes and but then they don't get to be the hero.
Yeah, 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 yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
And then there
yeah.
was another thing with Jeff Bezos. Where did he go? I don't have the thing up, but apparently Jeff Bezos is like, he posted some thing about starting an Amazon public relief fund. So you can donate to this Amazon public
No,
relief
I've heard
fund
about that. Yeah.
for the Amazon warehouse workers to help them, in this trying time. Even though Amazon, Jeff Bezos, the richest person
Crowdsource.
on the
Yeah,
fucking
yeah,
planet, I
yeah.
think, even after a
One
divorce,
of,
still,
one of, yeah.
and he has to,
Crowdsource our fucking.
crowdsource paying his workers in this
Yeah.
trying time. And let's be real, Amazon is not going to be hit by this disaster. Amazon is one of the few companies that's making bank on this disaster.
Mhm.
Because when you're not in the house, what the fuck are you going to do? You're going to order shit.
Or shit.
Amazon's
Yeah.
already backlogging everything that isn't, important for like fucking a month from now. Like, you can't tell me you're not doing business while at the same time backlogging necessary shippings. Like, those two things are just they're just incompatible. So Yeah, I love philanthropy. I love rich people, and I love when, and it must be
You
so
sure
nice to
do.
be rich because you only have to be good once. You just have to step up one time during a
Yeah,
disaster, and then
yeah.
you're
You're the
golden.
hero forever. Yeah.
You know, how easy is that?
But they had to really pull themselves up from their bootstraps and work double hard to get into that position, don't you
Yes,
know?
it's big and true. Have you ever actually looked up like there's always this is a subreddit I hate more than anything is like motivation or something or like personal self-improvement or something.
Yeah, that
And
sounds
they'll
nice
always
and
have these
motivating.
posts of like, oh, you know, don't worry about like, and I'm like a big self improvement kind of person to the
Hmm.
point where you're like comfortable, and I think that nobody should really feel bad about themselves or anything like that. I want to say that first. So I don't mean to insult a bunch of vulnerable people, but what I do mean to insult is this incorrect
Notion.
representation of reality. So a lot of the times they'll post things about like, you know, oh fucking, you know, so and so dropped out at college at this time and blah blah blah
I
and look how
know. Okay,
successful they
okay,
are. And
yeah,
it's like,
yeah,
okay,
yeah.
like and I think as far as what it goes with Bill Gates, I'm pretty sure Bill Gates had one of the first personal computers in existence. And that's
Hmm.
why he was able to, you know, develop what he was able to develop to become so wealthy. When your dad is the fucking one guy who has access to this thing and then he brings it home, you're
Yeah,
fucking golden. Like
yeah.
it would be embarrassing if he didn't become so wealthy from it, you know? Like
Yeah,
having
yeah,
that much
yeah,
of a leg
yeah,
up. It's like the equivalent of like
yeah.
I have a like I guess not a nuke, but like I have like an infinite like I have a recharging phaser gun in Roman Legion times. It's
Yeah.
like I can just blast you all and you wouldn't stand a chance.
That's
Like it would be
it's
pathetic of me not to become the ruler of Earth at that point. You know?
it's like they have this like Cinderella story where like they just magically acquired this
Yeah, that's the thing that I hate is just like
ability. It's like, well,
it's
you're
like oh like
ignoring.
like like the base ideology there without the reality fact checking is like oh like you know you can suffer hardships and still succeed. That's true, and that's a thing that people should always remember. But at the same time, like fuck people who have more advantages and then comparing ourselves to them because that's another thing that they always talk about is like don't compare yourself
Yeah.
to other people. But in this
But
instance
that's
when you
what
fail
you're
you're supposed to
doing.
compare yourself to Bill Gates and it's like I can never achieve that because he had so much more than me.
Yeah.
like like fucking Warren Buffett. Like have you I've ran the fucking numbers. Warren Buffett delivered paper for I believe it was $3 an hour when it came out to
Hmm.
in like the 70s or whatever the fuck it was.
It's
I,
pretty good money,
I
isn't it?
yeah, what that came out to I think was about $14 an hour today's terms.
Yeah.
And that was a job that he had when he was like 12.
Right.
And also where he was delivering papers. Now mind you, the people who are in positions of power today are people who are born in positions 50 years ago where they are around the people who are in
Yes.
positions of
Yes.
powers at
Yes.
that point. The
Yeah.
people who he was delivering papers to were a fucking bunch of senators.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like it's not a mystery where the ruling class comes from. They're
Right.
all shoving their
Right.
heads up each other's asses,
Hmm. Hmm.
you know,
Some people just want to just ease their head into one of those asses and just
and fall
become
asleep, I
part of it.
guess. What's another segment we got we can do? Oh, we talked about the cops. Oh, we'll save the fun two last ones for later. Oh, we can talk about the viewer grab bag. Tantric? Now, is it called
No,
Tantra? I've never heard Tantra before.
it's called so I guess Tantra is probably like the classification of it kind of thing. And then like tantric is like the
Is the
act
act, is like the
making.
verb,
Yeah.
and Tantra is like the noun?
Yeah, there you go.
Okay, I'm learning.
You're quite the last intellectual.
Yep, I am. We're at the end of the world. I figured I brushed myself up a little bit. You know, we're just floating through space trying to piece together what happened to Earth.
That's I like that narrative. We need to flesh that out a little bit
Yeah,
more.
it's
We
something
need
we'll
to
have
have
to
like
we'll have to
oh, we can talk
figure
about
out.
it. Yeah. Yeah.
So this okay, let me say what I understand about this, which is like
It's
a
probably as much as I do.
paragraph, and
Yeah.
then you can go. So the only thing that I can even begin to fathom about tantra or tantric sex relates to Siddhartha. Is that the name of? I think that's the name of the book. It's Siddhartha's the name of the book. and essentially it's kind of like a mythologized retelling of a Buddha, because in the book he meets another Buddha, but
Okay.
that Buddha wasn't Buddha enough for him, so he's like, yeah, I didn't join that guy because he wasn't
I'm
Buddha
gonna be
enough for
my
me.
own Buddha.
It's
Boosh.
it's a very strange book, but it's just a guy going through his life. It has a lot of interesting moments, but it has one of the most female empowerment moments about like 2/3 of the way through, before it kind of time skips to him being older and having a son.
Mm-hmm.
Is that he comes to this village, he kind of gets like a position of power in relation to like some ruling king, kind of like in Christianity Nehemiah would be a kind of similar story, but he hooks up with some woman who is maybe a prostitute. I think might be a prostitute, or it it's very hard to talk about in a way that is not racially insensitive, because a lot of the way he talks to the woman is steeped in the the culture of sex in India.
Mm-hmm.
So when he basically asks her like, you have this beauty or whatever, and what
Yeah.
and and you're so kind of haughty about it. What's to stop a man from taking your beauty or whatever? Is essentially kind of the question he poses.
Yeah.
And then what he says, or what she says back, is that like what she has to give isn't something that can be taken, because raping somebody isn't like really satisfying sex. It's not about sex. It's
That's
about
power. That's a
power.
power thing. Yeah.
So, and she kind of basically says that, and kind of like 1-2 KO and he's like dead. And I was like, wow, this chick's fucking awesome. And then, so like that's my understanding of tantric sex, is like whatever that lady was talking about in terms of like what she has to give compared to like what somebody could take, that difference.
Okay.
That's my understanding of tantric sex, is that it's like whatever the hell that lady was talking about.
That's a pretty good interpretation, it seems like, because from my understanding, it's basically, again, this is a very surface level understanding. Didn't do any research into it, but it's we'll take any recommendations from our viewers. So here we are. It's basically like a way you can like connect with your partner. It's not just about the act, like the physical act of having sex. It's like going a little more in depth, like
So like
connecting your souls and getting your chakras together.
Yeah, so there's like that spiritual
You
part that I
know?
think a lot of people could probably do without. I think
Oh,
in in a way in a way it, in a non-spiritual sense, I think, for like because like if you just know nothing about it, talking about the spirituality of it is kind of meaningless, I think. But sex is often seen as like a thing that happens between two people.
mm-hmm.
So like the tantric idea seems to be like sex is something that is one person. Like with is the Kama Sutra related to this? Or
I was
because like there's
wondering
so
about
many
that,
like
'cause it
when
seems like
you
it
think of the
has.
different positions,
Yeah.
you need two people, and they're connected,
one.
so they
Yeah,
become
yeah.
one.
Yeah.
And you only can make that position with the two people. So
Yes.
it's
Yeah.
a different kind of like, it's a kind of like a sex positivity kind of thing,
Mm-hmm.
but in a
Mm-hmm.
way that is like less, give everyone a hand job a la
Right.
Rachel Bloom. It's more of just like, whoever you're doing. I would assume it's mostly for men and women. I don't imagine that they would have had much man on man or woman on woman advice
Yeah.
given the time.
Yeah.
But maybe that's changed.
Maybe there's the hidden chapters of
The
Kama
hidden
Sutra.
chapters.
Yeah,
You're like flipping through like the text like in a museum, and you're like, oh my god, the hidden chapters, and it's like they're all stuck together because like that's where everyone was blowing their loads in the hidden
Yeah, because
chapters.
they're just loving the lesbian scenes and the gay scenes.
And the gay man scene. Well, because like all of them had to be, all
Or
they were
charting
really progressive back then in
They were actually too
one
progressive.
180 India. I don't even know what the time frame is. I'm just making that up.
Yeah, the pendulum swung so far that way that's why
That's
they
why it
got
went so far
more
back today, and
conservative
it's
now.
like,
Yeah, yeah.
they have like
It's
unironically like rape trains and rape buses.
That's so crazy, dude. Mumbai? I think it was Mumbai was like declared rape capital of the world, where people are getting raped on buses. It's a wonderful time we live in, man.
It's yeah, it's so fucked up. I mean,
But maybe I'm getting kind of into conjecture, but do you think that's kind of like a result of having such a conservative like culture, where like do they have no such thing as sex ed in most schools in India?
I mean,
From the Indian people
probably.
I've spoken to, so it's like they just don't know.
I don't think they know a lot. I don't know enough about India's history
Yeah.
to really say otherwise. I think they have like a lot of internal religion problems, right? In terms of like Islam, or a lot
Yeah.
of them like,
Well,
or Islam and in Hinduism and Buddhism, right? There's like the three
that's
major ones there.
so it's the bigger conflict is between Islam and Hinduism, and that's why they made Pakistan, basically.
Because it was in the pocket, right?
Well,
We'll
they
just
put
put
it
that problem in our pocket here. What are we gonna call it? Oh, Pakistan.
well, you know who developed Pakistan? We call Pakistan. They pronounce it Pakistan. You know why they? Do you know who developed Pakistan?
Oh, I don't fucking know. Great Britain.
You want to? Yes.
Yeah,
It
well,
was
that's the easy one.
it was like an apartheid and kind of a divide and conquer. Like while the Muslim Indians and the Indians are like fighting each other, we can just fuck them both sideways.
Yeah, I mean,
And that's where you get all those conflicts in Kashmir. That's why anytime like Kashmir is brought up in that like dispute, and then why Pakistan and India kind of hate each other, kind of don't, because they're like long lost brothers at the end of the day.
yeah, that's my understanding of the instability in the region of India is mostly due to Great Britain.
Oh, for sure.
In that
Yeah. Yeah, it's legacy.
they used all the, I don't know what their like governmental leaders are called, but they like just kind of like manipulated them all against each other for the
Yep.
sake of like, the UK's interests,
Yeah.
which I always think is really funny because like Arrival's kind of similar to that, except the aliens aren't there to manipulate them. But you can see how if people are not,
Play them.
if people are only united because the people in power are there because they're born there, they can be easily manipulated because they have no one that they're beholden to.
Yeah.
Like that's in that way, like you need a broader base of democratic or worker consent to the government to prevent being manipulated from outside sources. Because if you just have some random shithead, I mean, even if somebody is elected to power, they can still be manipulated. But the point that James Madison wrote about, and the point I'm trying to make, is that at least with democracy, the government can outlive tyrants because they have term limits.
Yeah.
Unless you're FDR.
Which FP was that from? Which Federalist paper, bitch? Do you know?
I don't remember. I don't even know if this was. I mean, well, there were a bunch of them. I mean, the ones that I think that I've read the most are like 17 and 53. Those are the two numbers that come to my head.
Big ones,
yeah, I mean, I think 17. I think that's the one where they talk about the opulent. The point of Congress is to protect the opulence of the minority against the tyranny of the majority. I think that's the one that he says that in. So
isn't that like?
I mean, yeah, the Republicans talk about the founding fathers in glowing regard, but the founding fathers also explicitly stated the point of the federal government and Congress in its power over the House is to ensure that the wealthy individuals will always have the final say.
Yeah.
So that's why we are, or that's where we are. Why we are where we are. Why we are where we are.
Yeah.
There we go.
Yeah, that always like struck me as kind of weird, that wording. Like, wait, doesn't that inherently sound kind of undemocratic? that they don't want too much democracy.
Yeah, I mean, well,
But I understand too much democracy
when
is
you
not good either,
know
'cause
the
people can destroy it.
reality of the revolution,
Oh
there
yeah,
is
yeah,
no
yeah.
there is no way, if you actually understand the way the revolution happened in relation to the political rights
Hmm.
of British citizens and other colonies, that you can imagine that the revolution was ever about taxes. It was never
Oh, for
about
sure.
taxes. It was
Yeah.
never for a single fucking second about taxes, because every time the Americans complained about taxes, the British government generally gave them a break. Like the because like the things that they wanted, and then that's the funny thing is like the things that they wanted, the audacity of their claims were 2x compared to what the British citizenry had on fucking in the UK. They
Yeah.
wanted voting rights. They wanted everyone people have voting
That's
rights.
so funny.
People
Yeah.
you have to have. I mean, think about the whole fuck to the situation. 90% of the UK inhabitants don't own property.
Yeah.
They
Yeah.
can't vote.
Yeah.
Guess what? If you happen to be born in this fucking, colony over here, you
Then
probably
you
have
get
some
voting
property.
right.
You
Yeah. Yeah.
have
Yeah.
more political power than some guy in the homeland.
The mainland.
Like,
Yeah.
you have to be a fucking idiot to imagine that like the fucking king is gonna like be like, yeah, we're gonna give you more rights than our own citizens. Like, what?
Well, but then doesn't that kind of go towards like it was almost inevitable the some kind of either a revolution or just the states becoming an independent thing because you can't control them overseas indefinitely.
No, I mean it's not a. I mean, it didn't need to be a thing about control. I mean, from the onset, they were like, what is it? There's a term for it, like a benign neglect, where basically UK didn't really do anything with the American colonies in terms of the continent, because there just wasn't really a lot of money there, and it didn't really matter. They had more interesting gems to go pick through, in India and other
Yeah,
places, and
yeah,
in the Caribbean. There's
yeah.
not really a lot of fucks to give about the American continent. And then by the time the UK government started paying attention, it was like, oh well, we've been doing just fine this way. That we're not
Hmm.
going to accept your like colonial governors or this other shit like that, because we've been doing just fine this way. So like from the onset, the UK fucked it all up, but
Well, that's what I'm
But it didn't
saying.
need to be that way. Like if if the concept of how the colonies worked were uh, in some way like reciprocal between the UK, there's no
Yeah, but
reason.
that's changing how they handled it to begin with. Then.
Yeah, yeah. But because of how they handled it so badly, yeah, there was
Yeah.
pretty much no way that they would ever have not moved away from it, because the UK just did not handle colonies very well, other than just making lots of money. And the only reason and it's kind of funny too at the same time, is that the only reason the UK gave the US independence is because the threat of losing their other colonies started
Hmm.
emerging when the
Hmm.
French Navy got involved,
Yeah.
and seeing, not the revolt successful, but
They just had to capitulate.
having to go on with it for so much longer. And also, I mean, they were paying a bunch of fucking Prussian mercenaries. Like,
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
you,
Yeah.
like, oh, go die in America. Republicans always act like a German invasion is some kind of like history fantasy. It's like what had already happened.
Oh, that's funny. Yeah.
Because like the Man in the
Yeah.
High Castle or whatever that
Yeah.
series is on
Yeah.
Amazon.
Hmm.
But there's a ton of stories about this where it's like revision history of like, oh, Germany wins
What
World War
if?
II and invades
Yeah. Yeah.
America. Blah, there's
Yeah.
so many things like that, and it's like, well, we don't have to look at fantasy. This actually happened. Prussian
Well, they were
mercenaries were
hired.
the fighting
They
force of the
were
UK during the Revolution.
they were hired hands, but yeah, it still checks out, I guess.
Yeah. We should probably go on to the shit take.
Yeah, this is a pretty good shit take. I like
Yeah,
this.
I was really stumped for a while. So the shit take we have to come up with this week is,
Oh,
why is okay boomer? Why should it be treated as a racial slur?
this is a really good shit take. Or a really good prompt for a shit take. Okay. So I feel that the issue. This is kind of. I'm gonna weave in a real take with a shit take. So like, the problem of like elder abuse has been, you know, kind of largely ignored in our culture. Like, it's just once you become a certain age, you just get thrown into a home and you just get forgotten about. So old people have endured enough pain and suffering, much like African people, African Americans have throughout slavery, throughout Jim Crow, that I think the term "okay boomer" is on the same level as, uh, you know, the bad word, the N1. I think that if anybody were to say "okay boomer" in a public square, they should have a legal precedent to get beat up. I think. And then I'll extend it a little further and say you have to be a certain age. I don't know what is like the literal age for like being called a
Oh,
boomer.
so like you got to be a part of the boomer crew
Yeah,
to
yeah.
say
To,
okay
to,
boomer. Well, yeah, you got to be a
to
boomer.
A to say okay boomer, and B to beat somebody up who
Oh, and to
says
beat
okay
somebody. Well,
boomer.
anybody of
Yeah.
any age can beat up an okay boomer that is saying it
Oh, okay.
inappropriately.
That's good. Okay.
We got to get all of society in on this.
Okay, that's true. Yeah, yeah.
So let me just try to see if I understand this. What you're saying is that there's been a
Yes.
level of societal rejection or neglect
Mm-hmm.
towards the boomers in the
Mm-hmm.
same way that the government has neglected African Americans. So
Yes,
the
the same.
terminology used to
Yes.
denigrate them should be
Yes.
treated as, a slur, a racial slur,
Yeah.
because they're essentially being treated as a different class, a different race of people.
Mm-hmm. And it's the
Okay.
same. It's the same level of discrimination, like one-to-one equivalency.
Yes, true, true.
Yep.
I would like to remember
And
this is the shit take portion.
yeah, we don't mean anything that we're saying in this part. I mean, other than I elder abuse is like a problem, but that's you hate old people, so I don't think you care about that.
Well, I care about elder abuse. I just hate old people, but I don't want them to get beat up.
No, we all know one of your favorite pastimes
Is
is
beating up old people.
yeah, going into old folks' homes and just
I mean,
knocking over their rocking chairs as they're rocking in them and coughing on them now.
yeah, well, that's why I moved next to an old folks home so I could just walk down the street and take care of that urge every time I had it.
Yeah, yeah, don't want to go too far.
So I think that's pretty good, and I totally agree.
Okay.
But I want to go back to how do we understand hatred? Think about Silence of the Lambs. In Silence of the Lambs, we're taught that serial killers, they kill because they covet what they don't have. Why are all the racial slurs that exist from white people? Because they want to have sex with non-white people. So they covet it because they can't have it. And because they can't have it, they had to come up with a way to denigrate them, to convince themselves that they don't want it.
I already see where this is going.
So now
Yeah.
we got boomers. They got all the money. They
Yeah.
got all the power. They're voting in Joe Biden and we're fucked.
Yeah.
And so young people, they want the boomers, but they can't have the boomers. So they got to okay the boomers. It's the same thought process. They want their money. They want their bodies. They want their will and testament when they die. So they just got to say, okay, boomer, you can fuck me one last time. Okay, boomer. It's not a snide remark. It's a sad acceptance.
Oh, okay.
That's what it
okay.
is.
Yeah.
That's the real messaging there.
Yeah.
When somebody says
Yeah.
okay, boomer, they're really saying, okay, boomer, fuck me again.
Yeah.
That's
like,
what they're saying.
It's almost like the yes massa.
Yes, actually. Yeah. So I guess in that scenario, then everybody else that's not a boomer is a slave.
Is the ones that are getting
Slave to the boomer way of life, yeah.
Oh,
Without having the boomer wealth.
I hate being a boomer slave.
Yeah. So that was my shit take.
That's a good shit take. I like the gymnastics that you had to take.
Yeah, I was
to get
going
there.
through it in my head and I'm like, what is the shit take? And I actually
So
came up with my
funny.
shit take before I came up with the premise.
Oh, that's good. Yeah, I feel like a lot of your shit takes are you have like the dumb idea, and it's like, okay, how do I?
Yeah, how do I answer a question around that?
How do we get to it?
Yeah.
It's like an algebra equation.
Yeah, no, that's pretty much how my brain works. Is I have some ideas like how do we get there?
How
So
do I
like
make this logical?
so yeah, let's move on to the No Way Out, where
This is everyone's favorite.
this is
thing,
everyone's favorite.
right?
So this week, you have to convince President Trump to veto the coronavirus relief bill because it's too generous to businesses. So give me a second here. I gotta get Trump on the phone. Beep, beep,
Okay.
beep, boop, 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 boop. Oh, actually, I forgot how he sounds. Oh,
You can just put on whatever. Dog.
I'll just do whatever voice. Like,
Yeah.
thank you for calling, Fauntleroy. Thank you. We got the biggest phones here. My phone. I gotta use 2 hands to hold my phone.
Oh, Mr. Trump, I know you're being modest. I know you're a big, strong man. You can probably pick it up with half of your strength, with just one hand.
Half of my hand, right?
Yeah,
I don't have small hands.
Probably one pinky. Your hands are freaking huge.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, I dialed the wrong number a few too many times.
No disrespect, but there's a thing called a fat finger. But you know what they say about someone with fat fingers?
Oh, what do they say?
I don't know. You tell me. You know.
Oh, you're so funny. I'm so glad I have you on speed dial.
So I'm calling about this. I'm thumbing through the news. I'm seeing that we passed a relief bill. Do you know anything about this?
Oh yeah. The coronavirus bill. Yeah, it's huge. It's never been better for the economy.
Yeah,
The money that's going in places, it's going right to those who need it.
It's very bigly, sir, very bigly. It would appear that we have a lot of money going towards large corporations and businesses, say like the airlines.
Yeah, I just got done talking with the Boeing CEO. He's assured me everything's great. They're gonna build a new plant in Austin, Texas. It's gonna be great.
I'm sure he's ecstatic. I'm just wondering how much money is going to the I guess average person. Any of your wonderful supporters? Do you?
Oh yeah. Well, they're getting jobs. They're getting jobs. All these businesses. They're going to go on a hiring spree.
So I'm just a little confused how that's gonna work, seeing as everybody is almost mandated to stay at home, but you're telling them that they have to go back to work.
Easter isn't canceled. It's not canceled.
Okay,
You can go out.
I too am sick of this cancel culture, sir, but I'm just a little worried about people spreading this canola oil virus.
It's transmitted through canola oil? Which company produces the canola oil?
The juries are out there. I hate to break it to you, but
Hey, Pence. Yes. Give me that grid of those companies again. I'm gonna point to the biggest bubble, that company.
Yes, sir. I love you, sir. Yes, I'm on it. Right
Okay.
away.
No money to that company.
I'm scurrying away.
I'm gonna veto the bill if that company gets money. No to the canola oil.
Yep. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. It seems that there's too much money going to these canola oil companies, and I think we need to just put a nix on the whole thing and just kind of think things through, be a little more tempered about it. I know that's your strong suit is
yes, temperance. Yes. Okay, thank you for your call, Fauntleroy. I gotta hold a press conference right about this, right about now, right about this. I gotta let them know that these businesses responsible for spreading the disease, they can't be getting money. I can't look bad.
Yes, you came up with
it's an election year. Yes. I mean election year. Oh my goodness. I sorry Ivanka just walked in.
I totally understand, sir. It happens all the time. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Oh, click. I was really hoping. I mean, I wanted to bring up Ivanka.
That was good. That was if you didn't when you said erection, I was going to. So.
Man, Trump is such a fucking.
He's a loon. I love it. He's my favorite.
I don't feel like that conversation is too far off of how Trump actually makes decisions about things.
Oh no, I have a theory that like if anybody wants to like get to him, you know, you have to like go through his ego,
Oh
and
yeah,
like
definitely.
have it so he came up with the idea, not you. But
Oh
you like
yeah,
planted the
that's it.
idea. It's like an inception situation.
Oh my gosh.
I'm sure that's what anyone who works with them. Like, have you seen like or like heard stories of people like they have to cut down like press
Oh,
con
like yeah,
like
I remember early
like
on in like the first year or something, there was like reports coming out that
he was like too bored.
in terms of like when they would give Trump daily briefings, they had to
Yeah.
like really itemize it by like big font and bold
Yes.
and just very few
Pictures. They
bullet
would have to have
points.
pictures. Like
Yeah.
a child, like a little baby.
Oh my gosh.
This is my president, by the way.
Oh god, I hate this country. I hate all
Oh, it's
Republicans. There's just no reason to be a Republican.
um on a random note, do you think being an expat would be any better?
Oh, if you were in fucking Norway, it sure as hell would be.
I'm not
If you
disagreeing.
were in
I'm
Denmark, it
just
sure as hell
wondering
would be.
just wondering
If
what
you
you
were
think.
in
Yeah, I do
Sweden,
too.
sure as hell would be.
Do you think
If you were in Canada, it would be.
okay, well
Actually,
Canada is
speaking of that,
what?
I have a thing. You can finish.
No, go ahead.
Okay, so actually, let's compare. While we're here, we have a little bit left. Let's compare the coronavirus response package from Canada to America. So let me just read through here this thing here for the Canada one. It's the CERB, Canada Emergency Response Benefit, provides $2,000 a month for up to 4 months to workers who lose their income as a result of the COVID-19 pandemic. That includes people who've lost their jobs, are quarantined, caring for someone with COVID-19, and for parents who have to stay at home to take care of their children. So that's cast a pretty wide
Wow.
net. It's not
Yeah.
ideal
Yeah.
because it should be universal under a certain income limit. I actually disagree with how they've, but I don't know the whole package. But this is essentially this is a modification to unemployment benefits in
Mm-hmm.
under Canada's rule, and I don't. And also, I mind you, they have free healthcare, so like
Yes. Yeah.
that's you to get
They're
that.
already a step above.
Yeah, they're already a step above. And before we get to the American one, there's a thing to mention is that a lot of dumb fucks who are Republicans would probably be like, well, if you don't have any money, you can get on Medicare, Medicaid, whatever the fuck, whatever the one is, the one for people who are under 65.
Yeah.
But the problem is that the reason that you have a universal healthcare system is that it doesn't need to be bottlenecked.
Yeah.
It never gets bottlenecked in terms of who's on it, in terms of getting people the coverage. Because if everybody's on it, you don't need to sign people up.
Mm-hmm.
This is last week, but I mean, I'm sure, or last week, the unemployment cases in like fucking, I don't know, one of those super white like Connecticut places or whatever was like
Yeah.
30,000, and usually they have 3,000 a month, and it was 30,000 by Tuesday. If you look at the unemployment in America right now, it's at like 3 fucking million. It's the highest it's ever been.
Yeah. Because everyone's getting laid off.
To understand that is like to have 3 million people apply for unemployment and then also have to apply for Medicare or Medicaid.
Yeah. Yeah.
That is a huge fucking waste of time and money for everybody just to get coverage. And that and going through the process to get coverage delays healthcare reaction to the pandemic so that more people needlessly die. If there was ever a time for Republicans to all be voted out, now more than ever is the time. If you actually have a working brain, that's it. I don't give a fuck about morality because let's not pretend that like anyone in the government's moral.
Yeah.
But the reality is that in terms of saving lives and saving money, it makes more sense financially to have everybody insured all the time so that they can be treated when they need to, rather than having to bottleneck them getting the health care that they need after fucking 3 weeks.
But barley, how are we gonna pay for all that?
That's a good question. So, well, somehow Canada's figured it out, and they're sure as hell a lot fucking less rich than we are.
Yeah, they have as much GDP.
Yeah, right. Where and somehow America's able
But
to
I
pay
think
for
people
it.
use that as an argument, though. They
Oh
say
yeah, they
that
say it all the
because these
time.
places are
Yeah,
small. I'm
and
not. Again, I'm just.
and to respond to the idiocy, it is like, I think the question comes out of the mind of the average Republican who is partially a libertarian, that money spent by the government is burned.
Right.
The average Republican's understanding of how money works, how finances work, is literally that of a fucking idiot. They assume that when the government spends money, the money evaporates upon spending and it disappears.
Yeah. It doesn't do anything.
The reality is that money that's spent on people goes into the economy and it trickles up to the top. Nothing trickles down.
Mm-hmm. It pools in the top.
We've seen that time and time again. And like any healthy system, if you have blood pooling somewhere in your body, you're probably gonna die.
It's gonna hemorrhage soon enough.
Yeah. Well, assuming that there's any, if you can poke a hole in it, but
we're gonna cut it open and have it bleed all over us one of these days.
Now I don't have. Oh, here it is. I got it actually. So let's compare. We're just gonna look at the unemployment part of it because that's the part that's comparable. So here's America's plan. Workers, in the coronavirus bill that's been passed, the federal government would give jobless workers an extra $600 a week for 4 months. So they got the same time range, 4 months, and they would get an extra $600 on top of the state benefits, which apparently, this is CNN, the average state payout for unemployment is around $200 to $550 a week.
That doesn't sound like a lot of money.
So if you combine the highest state payment with the $600, that's what, $1,150? Sure. Now, what I said before, that was in fun Canadian dollars. If we translate that to American dollars, do you want to guess that Americans are getting more or less after we translate it?
Well, my guess is going to be a bit less.
That Canadians are getting less, or Americans are getting less?
Americans are getting
You're
less.
absolutely correct. Canadians, when adjusted for the American dollar, are getting $1,440 about for the 4 months, and the coverage of their unemployment is far greater. Now, from my understanding here, and this is mostly, I think, due to Bernie Sanders, is that the unemployment has been protected for contract workers and people who do things like Uber and Uber Eats and those other kind of like, Grubhub services like that, because the American government doesn't do a good job of tracking income for non-traditional forms of work. And one of the big issues that a lot of dumb fucks have in their head is when they hear things like AOC. And now she misspoke when she said it, but what she said, if you're willing to be charitable and understand what she said, like I do with all fucking Republicans, is what she said was unemployment is low because people have 2 jobs. What she meant to say was unemployment is low because people have to work a lot of jobs that they're taking up, but the economy is still bad. Like her general messaging is that like
it's because they're getting paid shit.
They're getting paid shit. They have to work more jobs. Yeah, now, the first thing she said, it didn't really tie in together. But if you listen to the whole thing and you're being an honest human being, that's the message that she's trying to say. And then there's like a bunch of dumb fucks that somehow think that, oh, I'm going to take the one thing that you said and I'm just going to laugh about it because it's so stupid. Yeah. But the reality is that when you look at the data, because this is my favorite thing to do. If you want to see how fucking stupid somebody is, you just go look at the data. It's all fucking available. The IRS makes everything fucking available. You just go look online. Okay, how does the government, for the Department of Labor, track employment? Well, there are like about 4 different metrics of tracking employment. And when it comes to non-traditional work, i.e. driving for Uber and things like that, it turns out that the government doesn't track that very well at all. And the government would never know that I was doubly employed at any point.
Yeah.
Because the government has failed to understand the different forms of the gig economy and things like that, we failed to track it. So the number is drastically lower than probably what it really is. And it doesn't matter for most people because most people that probably drive Uber probably make less than $2,000 a year on it anyway. And you don't have to report income over $2,000 that you make in anything else. I learned that while being on fucking food stamps. Because I was making, if you remember that thing where we were getting paid from that Chinese company, or that company in Singapore, which Singapore is a tax backstop for China anyway.
Yeah.
But if you remember that, like, that's when I learned that, because I was like, do I have to even report this? I mean, I have to report it because I'm on food share, but do I have to even report it
Normally,
in terms
yeah.
of taxes?
Yeah.
And it's like, well, if it's less than $2,000, or I think it's like 2,500.
If it's less than, you
Yeah,
say?
if you
Yeah.
make less than that on like a job, or whatever, you don't have to report it for your
Yeah.
taxes. There might be, I mean, obviously, do your own reading on it. Don't.
Yeah.
I would not advocate for having the exact understanding of the law, but that was what I read at the time, and it's like, well, if that's the case, then what is the incentive to report it? And obviously, people would be like, oh, well, if you go on unemployment or whatever, it's like, dude, like the that's you were talking like the difference of $25.
Mm-hmm.
And like I think that probably makes like, but you're getting taxed so much more before, like you're gonna, oh well, not really, but like, well, partially, kind of, I don't know, taxes are pretty high even for low income people in America.
Yeah.
After the what's the word for it? The deductible, the standard deduction of 12,000 or 24,000 if you're married, which probably should be a lot higher. So, what is there anything else crazy in this on the thing? Where's the fucking bill? Oh, there we go. I scrolled up. Oh no, it started autoplaying the fucking video. Unemployment. Oh yeah, no, that was the unemployment one. I think though, what this is like $2 trillion. I think more than half of it's going to corporations though, which I could be fine with if we were in this together, you know?
Yeah.
Like if I didn't view my employer as a place that literally only cared about money,
Yeah.
we could be in this together. But because I'm a replaceable, cog in a machine, we are not in this together. We are in conflict.
Well, it's
So,
kind of like,
yeah.
well, it's like the mom and pop shops and stuff, like the quote unquote small business owners that need that kind of aid the most. Like those smaller businesses that are hiring people, not giant corporations.
Yeah, I mean, well, yeah, the giant corporation should have money on hand to take care of the issue.
Yeah.
I mean, this is the point of having low taxes and all these things, is that the capital can flow to where it needs to go to handle the situation. But instead, it just seems like all the rich people are just like, just like scratching their chins and waiting for all this coronavirus to blow over so they can blow their load financially when it's all over.
Get back to how things were. Although I will say, the place I work at, although like it is kind of like a giant soulless corporation, they're giving like pretty much they're paying out unemployment, and they're also giving like meals to all employees for free.
Well, that's pretty interesting. That's a lot more than what mine did.
I know. That's why I'm like, that's actually good on them. Like, even if it is like kind of a thing to placate, like, you better fucking come back to work so we can exploit you, even continue to exploit you. Like, at least they're going through that much effort of like preparing the meals and giving them to you, and
doing some things actually.
Like actually paying you like 70% of your paycheck per like pay period or whatever. So,
even if with like the reduced hours or whatever you're saying, or the circumstances.
It's just like your normal, whatever your like average or normal paycheck would be. It's just they're straight giving you 70% of it.
Yeah, and that makes sense.
Pay period.
I think, I'm not entirely sure. I don't entirely know, but I think that makes sense, because if you went on unemployment, it would be probably the same cost for them anyway.
Yeah, exactly.
So, yeah, no, but that's good that they at least do that much. Like in my place, it's like I read through the policy twice. There wasn't a single word for the staff's own health and safety or their families beyond basic like wash your hands stuff. Like like you didn't have a single word for anybody who has to go home to a family, has to go home to somebody,
man.
and then who they work with and how that can spread to somebody that like maybe that they know people that are like elderly or susceptible to it. Like it's that level of ignorance can only be crafted by people who live in a bubble, which is basically what the administration is in my company.
Isn't that the whole point of like an HR department?
Well, yeah, they hired a few people actually like a few months ago, but they're just I mean, HR is just cheerleaders for the company. So
yeah, sometimes I feel like I would want to work in HR and try to like change that kind of culture, but I feel like they just stomp that out of you right away.
Yeah, it's the same thing. I think it's kind of funny you say that because my favorite coworker Sean, at where I work, he says the same thing about like when he was younger he wanted to be a cop, but then he realized like you don't actually change anything by being a cop.
Yeah, you just
Like
become part of it.
yeah, like you conform into a different person. You don't.
Yeah.
I mean, you can be a good cop, but like you can't systemically change issues in policing in America as a cop.
Yeah.
And I think that's more what he stood at issue with, and I think what any reasonable person stands to issue with the modern police force. There was one other thing. I think it was Lindsey Graham went on like Fox News or something and was talking about how unemployment benefits can't be too high because then otherwise people would not work.
Huh.
It's like, how do you?
I love that. I love that notion.
Like, well, first, I mean, yeah, I mean, he's just fucking like you don't get unemployment for quitting your job. You get unemployment for being fired, and then they call. It's so funny, like when Republicans talk about. I mean, in fucking like, leading Republicans talk about welfare programs. They don't even know what the fuck they are.
Yeah.
You know, like it's so funny.
Kind of like
I'm so glad I've been on food stamps. I'm so glad I've been on Badger Care.
Yeah, yeah.
Because now when fucking dumb fucks try to talk to me about like welfare,
you know what
it's like I know exactly what it's like.
About.
And there's no fucking way you're gonna cross some bullshit on me about how it's unaccounted for free fund money that they hand over to you. Like they are constantly checking in, and the moment your income gets one fucking penny over the fucking minimum that you need to make to be off, you're fucking done. And that's it. And if you fuck up, at least in Wisconsin, if you fuck up, you can get banned from it for like 18 months. Now you have to fuck up pretty badly, and you have a case manager who will work with you, so you have to be pretty negligent on it. But if you don't have a job or a car or a way to get around, like you got to take the bus, but you don't have, like if you are really truly destitute, welfare programs will not help you get off welfare, and that's by design. That's by Republican design, and partially by Democratic design, but mostly Republicans. So those are the happy tunes that we end our combing of the archives. It seems like floating through space, trying to figure out how everything ended. My conclusion is that too many stupid people were in power for too stupid long.
Yeah, this is very stupid true.
I really hope that the United States finds a way out of this.
Well,
and the next combing of the archives.
Yeah, we'll have to see in the next installment. I hope.
Yeah. Hopefully we can figure it out. I mean, we're idiots. But we're the only people alive.
The next once the next broadcast is decoded.
Yeah.
We'll be able to.
We're actually not even the individuals. We're actually aliens listening to a decoded message of the last intellectuals. And we're tuning in and we're learning about the destruction of this weird planet, Earth.
Yep, and we're re-encoding it into
English speak.
A wavelength that any other species can understand. It's kind of like if you installed not earworm. What's the?
Actually, I got it. This is Arrival.
This is Arrival. Yeah,
this is Arrival. That's it. The aliens have recoded it and they're uploading on YouTube.
Yep.
And hopefully the Earthicans will take notice and they'll be like, "Whoa, this is how the Earth got destructed." But there's a limit. They can only upload it as the events happen. So they got to tune in and they got to figure out what are the wrong things going on with the Earth and America to try to make sure things change. That's what's happening. Perfect. This is it. Okay, well, that was us. Great. I'm Poorly Borelstein.
Thank you. I am Fauntleroy Fauntingston.
Perfect. That was great. And that was it. I gotta go bathroom. If you're listening, go to the bathroom too now with me, and you can all pee together.